My name is Sue, and this is my husband, Chris. We serve in New Mexico in Farmington, and it's a transitioning house, which is called BYRON'S House of Hope. We usually have 6 men that come from prison, not always at the same time. We go together with making the program, how the schedules go, but it is a faith-based, Christian-based program, and Chris does a lot of the Bible studies along with 8 other teachers that we have. I come in, and that is being pretty much like the mom or the sister for the guys, making the schedules, but also just being available for them if they need to talk, need prayer, because a lot of these guys are coming from prison under addictions of all kinds, and also addictions of brokenness in family. So that's the kind of part that I play in that, along with the scheduling and things like that.
Well, as program managers, Sue and I have different roles. My role is especially being a Bible teacher to these men. In the first 2 months of the program, the guys go through Bible classes and community service from 8:30 to 4 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. It's very intense. And we have about 8 Bible teachers. It's really my favorite thing to do there. And in the second 4 months, they go out and get their jobs. Sue and I are volunteers, and we depend on support from churches. At this time, we only have one church that supports us, and we have several individuals who faithfully support us every month.
And along with the few people that do support us, there's a lot of people that are always praying for us, but we get a lot of support through physical things, food and things like that that's coming right now, because we're actually in our building that we're going to be running our program. But it's just how God is always faithful through the people that do donate things like that. Sometimes we get a surprise in the middle of the year, somebody that saw one of our newsletters that Chris puts out monthly, and they'll send us, it may not be a large amount, or it may be a large amount more than we really needed at that time. So it's God's provision through his people. So we're always blessed, and we've spent a lot of our money. We had to rent an apartment when we first got there into Farmington, and we had to use our savings, but our savings always seem to be staying the same because of those provisions that came in, and we know that God had a part in that.
In 2018, BYRON'S House of Hope began, and at the time, the whole program ran out of a homeless shelter called The Path. We intended to get our own place, but it took a while, and finally we settled on a building that used to be a homeless shelter. In July of 2020, we began to run our daytime program from this new building, even though the men are still sleeping in The Path. The fact that we can even use this building is a miracle altogether.
Yes.
We had a lot of obstacles to jump through. The biggest problem was that we needed a sprinkler system. Before that, we had other kinds of fire safety regulations that we also had to clear up. We had many people donating exit signs and fire extinguishers, and a lot of help putting things together, putting things up. Now, we have the fire extinguishers up, we have the exit signs up, and Sue and I are able to live in the building now as caretakers, but the men still aren't allowed to move into the building until we have that sprinkler system. As we had just left for vacation a week ago, the sprinkler system company had been given the okay to start installing the system. We expect within a month that we will have the entire program in our building, the men taking their classes, sleeping there, and doing all their own cooking.
In the wait for moving into the building for Chris and I as caretakers until the guys actually move in the building, it was told by the board of the program, of their ministry, that we would be able to move in the 1st of July. Where we rented, it was month to month. And of course I was getting more anxious and excited to be able to be not having to pay rent and to be going forward with the program, moving in as the couple that would live there with the men. So it was a big thing for me to learn in the waiting. When God is still moving, I made it about myself. Well, I want to get there now, and we had to wait for these things. And it was like 4 months. It wasn't until September 21st that we actually moved in the building to finish the things that they had to take care of for us to actually just be living in there as a couple. But God really showed me a lot in that, because in the waiting, He gently let me know that it's not His ministry alone, but He only let us be part of His ministry in that building. So I was making it a personal thing, and the flesh was coming in. So it was really amazing that even at my point in that ministry and at my age, we're never too old or too young to have God chisel things off of us, because we're making it about ourselves. So I was starting to think, well, it's all about me wanting to move in on a certain time, but God's timing is always perfect, and it's not the timing that we always go by. We go by our own timing. So that was a really big thing that God had to teach me, and through that is just still stay humble, because I wasn't staying humble, and He gently nudged me through conviction that, okay, you need to come back and be humble so I can bless you. So that was a really great testimony for me to go through. My advice would be for anyone that wants to follow the Lord is to really listen, to be still and listen to the Lord. Ask for discernment if it is from the Lord, because I know there's been times in my journey where I think I want to do something and I think it's from the Lord, but I really didn't consult Him first. It's just a heart thing that stirs up in me. And we have to be careful not to be going by our understanding instead of the Lord's understanding. So I'd always say, prayer is a great thing to get mentoring from other people, whether it's pastors or other friends and brothers and sisters in Christ that you feel comfortable with. And you don't do it alone. Any ministry can't be done alone by one person. If God puts a vision and a thing on our heart and a desire, it's not going to be to walk alone. I always think of how Jesus didn't send one disciple out. He sent two together to preach the gospel. So when He did that, it wasn't just so much for them to reach other people in the name of Christ. It was to see how they would work together and encourage one another and learn from one another the gifts and talents that are given to us. So that would be my first thing to encourage someone.
Well, pretty much the last place I would have ever wanted to go is New Mexico. But we felt that God was putting on our hearts that we needed to go there. And we started out by working with children in the Navajo mission. And from there, God called us to move down to Farmington. And we really had no idea what we were going to do down there. No. Sue was going to get more involved with the prison ministry, but I really didn't have anything to do. We knew about Byron's House of Hope, so we got involved with it. And again, it was a lot of blind faith. And the more we got involved, the deeper into it we became. And who would have ever guessed that we would be program managers of this now? And with a lot of influence on these men that are coming out of prison. And for us to be there as a couple, even living in the building, once they're living there, they get to see what it's like for a functioning, healthy Christian couple. And even if they're married or not, they can see a little bit of how God can move in somebody's lives. And the more they see in themselves, then the more they're going to interact and other people are going to see in them. One thing that people have a problem with when men are coming out of prison in a recovery type program like ours, we see the recovery, the men see the recovery, but people outside don't see it. And a lot of times they don't want to believe it. But we're there to encourage the guys, even though they might have people on the outside saying, no, you're still the same. We can keep pushing them forward, say, no, you are different. Look where you are, look where you used to be. That's your testimony, and don't let go of that.
That's right.
Byron's House of Hope has many different needs, some financial, some by material, some by workers. We need a lot of help as we're putting this new building, new program together. Now, Sue and I also have needs, and that would be mainly in prayer and financial at this point. We do volunteer, and our support comes mainly through this church and individuals. If you're interested in supporting us financially, our email will be on the screen, and you can contact us in that way. Also, our newsletter tells about what's going on in our lives and with the ministry. Please sign up for our newsletter. It's the same email. It comes once a month and is free of charge.